Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 1047 for the 5th of January. And if you have been following the Ukraine war closely, if you follow all those Telegram channels or Twitter, you probably would have known that the Ukrainian forces have tried to do a major offensive operation over in the KURSK region. So we shall start in the KURSK region. But before we jump there, the Russians have shot down yet another aircraft from the Ukrainian Air Force. This time around is a MiG-29. This is shot down by the Russian Air Force. So it's a air-to-air kill. So yeah, I wonder if it's something to do with the operations over in Kursk. And over in the Kursk region, the Ukrainian forces have launched an attack towards Berdin or Novosotnitsky region. So usually they say Berdin. I think maybe because it's just easier to pronounce. So the Ukrainian forces launched at Berdin. They landed troops over in Novosotnitsky. And based on my judgment, I believe that the Ukrainian forces also captured the forest below this Novosibirsk region, and they are basically on the edge of Berdin. And currently, the understanding is that the fighting is still ongoing around this sector. However, the Ukrainian forces already suffered great losses due to artillery and drone strikes. And this attack did not came as a surprise to the Russians. Apparently, the Russians were aware of the Ukrainian buildup, and then they even have journalists, reporters, basically sitting in the HQ with the commanders watching the drone footages and basically giving command to strike the armored vehicles. So this is definitely the Russians already anticipating the attack, and they just lay an mobile ambush for the Ukrainians, which is like the drones and the artillery and whatnot. So anyway, still a developing situation, but this is unlikely to go well for the Ukrainians. And meanwhile, in the southern flank, the Russians continue their offensive. So which is like, the Ukrainians, instead of spend the resources to do a counterattack on where the Russians are attacking, they choose to hit another place, hopefully to draw Russian attention, but it's not working. Geolocation of Russian forces moving deeper into Makhnovka. And based on the Russian mapping, they have claimed that they have captured the southern half of Makhnovka and linked up with the forces at Krylovka, and they claim the capture of Cherkasskaya Konopelka. So this is a massive capture claimed by the Russian mapping. So and the fighting is also being reported over in Milovoye. So the Russians are doing this massive big arrow flanking operation into the rear position of Sudzha, which I did mention at least 1-2 weeks already. Since the beginning of the Russian major offensive in this southern part. So this is likely to be the case. Russians are also putting pressure on Sudzha itself, but this is going to be diversion. As the Ukrainians get trapped here, the Russians are going to flank to the rear position and cut the highway. So this is an ongoing operation, and I wonder what's the grand plan for the Ukrainians, because this looks pretty obvious to me. The Ukrainian offensive is not that obvious to me what they're planning to do, because there's not much major operations coming on the Russian side here. So they're basically attacking deeper, like digging a deeper hole for your coffin, like that kind of situation. I have no idea. There's shelling or attacks at Kazacha Loknia, and there's attack over in Ruske Proshnoe. Over on the western flank, we have the usual. We have the Russians attacking over at Nikolaevo Darino, Nizhny Klin, Alexandria, Leonidovo, as well as Nikoski. So pretty much more or less the same thing with just the Nikoski being mentioned again. Otherwise, the western flank remains the same. In the northern flank, we have Ukrainian forces geolocated west of Orlovka, confirming Ukrainian advance, or not advance, but disclaiming or invalidating Russian claims around this area. The Russians, however, is still attacking Novaya Sorokina as well as Staraya Sorokina. Malaya Lognia is also mentioned, probably coming from the other side, the offensive. So this is the northern flank continuing to be very vague. We still do not know exactly what the hell is happening. In clarity, where's the front line? So we will definitely have to continue to wait for more information. So that's all from the Kursk front, where the Ukrainians are trading ground with the Russians. and clearly, yeah, it doesn't look like a good trade. So we move on over to the KURSK front. At the KURSK front, we have only the fighting reported at Lipsy and Voschansk. Nothing special over the past 24 hours regarding this front line. Except that over on the eastern part, the Russians seems to have launched a new direction of attack. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They hit Vyukovaka as well as Zarubinka. It's unclear if this is a real new operational front. Like, is this a new offensive where they are planning to go far? Currently, is unknown. We shall continue to wait and see, if this is going to lead to anything. The last time, Chukunivka, which is the town just before these two other towns, was attacked long time ago in March 2024. So that's a very long time ago. So definitely this is a very new development. Over in the Voreshna front, fighting is reported over at Zapadne as well as Voreshna. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainians are keeping mum about Voreshna now. And we move south. Into the Kupiansk front, there is fighting reported only at Sinkivka, as well as shelling reported at Podoli. But that's about it. Nothing particularly special about this. Over in the Pischane front, we have fighting reported at Kolenikivka, Zarizove, as well as Lozova. And that's all. This is pretty standoff-ish or no stagnant front line. So nothing particularly stand out over here. Over in the Borova front, we have fighting reported at Peshotravneve, also now known as Steppe, according to Google Maps. Fighting is reported at Nadia, Novosahievka, as well as Svetoklibove. So that's all. Pretty much the same big arrow movement, but there's nothing particularly new regarding this sector. Over at the Liman front, we have fighting reported over at Torske, Zarishne, as well as new developments over in Ivanivka. Over at Ivanivka, the Russian forces have expanded their bridgehead, now encompassing much bigger grounds around Ivanivka, which allows them probably to put up a good defense line here, but it's still very small, very vulnerable. The Russians will still need to expand this beachhead in order to make it really useful. So over at the Sivers front, we don't have anything except for the mention of Sivers by the Russian Defense Ministry. Over in the Bakhmut front, the action seems to be now over in the northern flank, with the fighting being reported at Orekhovo, Vasilivka, Krakorivka, as well as Chasivka. However, the main change is over in the south, over at the Stupovsky region, where the Ukrainian forces were geolocated around the canal, confirming the Ukrainians have recaptured the forest in this east of Stupovsky. So this is the frontline change, but there's no attacks being mentioned around this area here. So this just appears. Over in the Torex front, there is only fighting reported over in Torex, Shebenivka, as well as Krimsky. Some new frontline changes over in Torex. Russian forces geolocated in this northwest of Torex, expanding their zone of control, and also the one just off the industrial plant also seems to have some of this residential area falls to the Russians according to Ukrainian mapping. This is one of the latest mapping. This is the latest mapping actually by Deep State UA. So that's the frontline change over in Torex as the Russians continue to slowly conquer the entire city. And we move on from Torex front. Over in the northern flank of Pokrov, the situation continues to deteriorate for the Ukrainians. Fighting is reported in the north of Alexandrivka, Baranivka, Vostovizenka, Yelizavetivka, as well as Myrolyubivka. Particularly, there is frontline changes over these two sectors. So we zoom in a bit so that we can see a bit more clearer. So based on Ukrainian mapping, Russian forces have now went down the tree line along the gully region and moving towards Baranivka. And along the way, they also have captured some of these built settlement in the Vozdevizhenka northeast, as they also moving towards Baranivka from the other direction in the pincer attack. Russian forces also secured some of the grounds north of Novo-Alexandrivka, secure most of Vozdevizhenka, and moving westward. So this is the current situation around this sector. In Yelizaveta, Russian forces geolocated in in the in the southeast of Yelizaveta, confirming Russian advance and attack. This is reported as a mechanized attack by the Russian forces. It's unclear if they managed to hold a foothold. But but this is a very significant developments in this sector as the Ukrainian line suddenly collapsed around this area here. So we shall continue to watch to see what the Russians plan to do in this area. Over in the Minokhrad sector, fighting is reported in Mariolibivka, as mentioned earlier, and Promin. Over in the Pokrov sector, fighting is reported over. Let me see how I fit in everything. Barely. So fighting is reported at Lysivka, Dechanske, Zelene, Verozhenia, Shevchenko, Pischane, Vovkove, Solone, Novovasilivka, and Novo-Alexandrivka. So the main changes is over in the Chanske Zelene region, with the Russian forces capturing the eastern part of Zelene. So the eastern part of Zelene is now captured from the Russians coming from the Chenske direction. The entire highway in the south of the Chenske is also now under Russian control. So this is the frontline changes in this sector, as the Russians inevitably is going to pincer the Ukrainians at Zelene and capture this entire village. And the other major developments is that Vovkove, Russian forces have fully captured Vovkove, and they have also largely encircled Pischane, as the Russian forces secure a strong foothold in this area here, where this spins has now devolved into like a dog, like the what's that dog called? Yeah, poodle. So anyway, based on the latest front line, the distance from the front line and the highway is merely almost 1 kilometers. The Russians are getting closer and closer. So this is a very significant development over the Kove region, as the Russians are now nearing Kotline and the cutting of the highway. So also very serious developments around this Pokrov region. So over in this southern flank, Russian forces are fighting at Novo-Yelizavetivka, Novo-Olenivka, Ukrainka, and Yasinove, as well as Slovianka. So this sector here seems to get busy again as the Russians start to ramp up their operations in this winter offensive, which I simply call it the 2025 winter offensive, with the Russians literally ramping up their operations in multiple areas, multiple fronts. So this is something to watch out for. And over in the Kurakove front, yeah, how do I fit everything in? I have no idea. So fighting is reported at Petropavlivka. Russian forces geolocated inside of Petropavlivka. Russian forces captured most of Shevchenko. They attacked Dashny. They have fully captured Kurakove based on the latest geolocation, with Russian forces over on the western edge of Kurakove. Geolocation also in the south of Kurakove, confirming Russians have captured more of the entrenchment region and closed off some of the salient in the south. So this is the situation evolving over in Kurakove. If I actually can move this a bit here, you can probably see, yeah. So there's the current situation in this sector. Over in the in the Constantinople front, other than of course this mentioned advancement in the south of Kurakove, Russian forces are attacking Yantarne as well as Constantinople. But that's about it. This seems like the preoccupation by the Russian forces is mainly further up in the north. In this direction, they are pushing in this way, and they are just holding the Ukrainians here, and they are now just pushing in this westerly direction. Geolocation of a Leopard 2 getting hit by FPV drone, so was noted just off Ulakli. So that's about it. And it's interesting to still see Leopard 2s being operated. So the Ukrainians definitely still have some formidable armor, but armored vehicles, by this age, by this time of the war, that is getting less and less significant. It's still very powerful, but it's becoming a very huge prime target for any drone operators. Over in the Velika Novosilka front, Russian forces attacked Novi Koma, Velika Novosilka, Nekushne, as well as towards the Zelene Pole. But that's all. Nothing more about this area, as the attention is now going elsewhere in the Ukraine war. Zaporizhia front went quiet. There's totally no reports at Zaporizhia front. And over at the Kherson front, there is only shelling being reported at Antonivka, Mikhailsk, and Pontianivka. And that's all. The yeah, so and yeah, that's about it. Nothing else over this region, and that's it. So this is the summary for the day of the 5th of January, for the day of 1047 for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. So press the like button, subscribe, check out the DPA Open Mic. We talk a lot about the Ukraine war, and so maybe you might be interested. And also check out the Frontline Changes report over there. And I'll see you guys in the next update.